All right, Dr. Kate, thank you. Well, something new is brewing in Franklin. The city now has its first coffee roaster, but it's providing more than just a cup of joe. The nonprofit's mission is to serve the community by paying for addiction and marriage counseling. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you very much, Gary. Coffeehouse Five opened its first location in Greenwood about 6 years ago and has provided $200,000 worth of free addiction and marriage counseling for people in the community. But demand has outgrown just one location, so its co-founders recently opened a second coffee house just a bit further south in downtown Franklin. More revenue means more people can benefit from its mission. Here to tell us more is Brian Peters, one of the founders of Coffeehouse Five. Thank you for coming to the show today.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about first your personal experience and how that really gave birth to your first location of Coffeehouse Five in Greenwood.
Right. This is not, as I tell people often, necessarily a path that I would have chosen for myself. But some 25, 30 years ago, when I was practicing law, my wife and I had just been married, and I was in full-blown alcoholism. I've been in recovery now for about 25 years, but at that time, in alcoholism, marriage was not in good shape, and eventually we got to the point where we actually thought we were going to divorce. But God intervened, we got into counseling, and after a couple of years when we finally got to the point that we felt like we were going to make it, we literally had people start to show up on our doorstep and ask for help. At that point, we didn't know what to do other than share our story. But that's what then eventually led me at one point to be asked to join staff at a local church. I got more and more involved in counseling, marriage counseling, addictions counseling. And as I did that, I encountered this big barrier to counseling, which is cost. And so that's what drove us to come up with this idea of running a coffee shop to generate revenue and support and allow us to offer the counseling for free.
So you opened the Franklin location in early March. Tell us, why did you see a need to add the second location?
There are two primary issues that were driving us to increase our revenue. Number one, I counsel only with couples and individual males. I don't counsel with individual females. So we really have a need for a female counselor. The second thing, we often, again, I only do marriage and addictions counseling, and I often have the need to refer people for other forms of mental health counseling. Lots of people come to us because our services are free. When I have the need to refer them, they often can't pay for those services that they need. So we wanted to have a fund available to help subsidize costs of other types of mental health counseling.
So this will help generate more money. Less than 2 weeks you were open in Franklin, and then coronavirus comes. What has it changed? How are you dealing with this now? Only carry out? I can imagine this is not something you're prepared for, but what has it been like?
It's been a whirlwind. Everything has changed, you know, especially as a coffee shop, you know, our big, what we try to do is create this environment that people want to come into and hang out in, and we can't allow them to do that now. And so that's really frustrating and disheartening. But we're doing the best. You know, we've been so encouraged just this week with our community and talking about supporting the local businesses, getting carry out from all of the businesses, which they're doing from us as well. So, you know, we're all in this together.
Right, we're going to get through it together. Indiana, of course, is, you know, experienced the opioid crisis. I think in general, there's also just a bigger emphasis on mental health. Did you see, you know, in the last year or so, has there really been an uptick in demand for mental health services, counseling, and things like that? It's
difficult for us to measure because of the growth of our operation, and as more people become aware that our services are free, we every year see an increase in demand. And so it's a little bit difficult for me to sort out whether it's a demand overall or just a demand, and I know it is a demand for services that are lower cost or obviously free, because again, you know, so many people who need help just can't afford it or don't have the insurance to cover it. But certainly with addictions, we're seeing an increase in need for addictions counseling. And that's only going to increase in a situation like this. You know, two of the big drivers of addiction are isolation and boredom. And those are big issues right now.
Right, absolutely. People are dealing with that in a way that we never have before.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to the show and telling us about your new location. And I know this too shall pass. And
Right.
soon we'll be open and back to normal for you, hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Gary, back to you.